silent moments hold more power than the loudest decisions. In the stillness, unseen doors open and whispers of guidance reach those who are ready to listen. Today, we explore a truth hidden in plain sight. The answers you seek are not shouted from the heavens, but revealed in quiet spaces between your thoughts. For centuries, Shaolin masters have understood this. They trained not just the body, but the mind. They learned that clarity does not come from chasing noise or distraction. It comes from calm, from presence, from listening to the subtle currents of life flowing through each moment. Even the smallest sign, a pause, a feeling, a fleeting thought, can point the way if you are attuned. Many walk through life searching for certainty, pressing for a sign that feels grand or dramatic. Yet, some of the most profound guidance arrives softly, almost unnoticed. Today, you will uncover how to recognize these moments, how to quiet the mind enough to receive them, and how ancient Shaolin wisdom can guide your steps. You will learn techniques for stillness, methods to sharpen awareness, and the spiritual practices that reveal clarity in times of uncertainty. By the end of this video, you will not only see why silence is sacred, but also how to cultivate it daily, so that every decision becomes rooted in insight rather than confusion. Secrets of awareness that once required decades of practice can now be applied immediately, revealing paths that often remain hidden to the restless mind. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. If you seek clarity, guidance, and the subtle power of listening before action, you are in the right place. Subscribe now and step into a journey where every quiet moment can transform the way you see your life. The world speaks in whispers, but few take the time to listen. Every leaf that falls, every shadow that moves across your path, carries a message if the eyes and mind are open. Observation is not mere seeing, it is a deep, attentive presence. Shaolin masters train their senses not to react hastily, but to perceive fully. They watch the world with patience, letting each detail reveal its hidden lesson. Begin with your own thoughts. Sit quietly and notice the currents of your mind without trying to change them. Observe how worry drifts in, how joy rises unbidden, how decisions feel heavy or light. These subtle currents often carry guidance. God's voice rarely shouts, it nudges, it bends the heart gently, it lingers in the quiet corners of awareness. To recognize it, you must first become a careful witness of yourself. Then turn outward. Notice the patterns in the world around you. Perhaps a conversation repeats a phrase that resonates deeply. Perhaps a series of events aligns in ways that feel more than coincidence. In mindfulness, nothing is trivial. A single encounter, a fleeting moment of insight, a pause in routine, these can carry the seeds of direction if your attention is awake. Observation also teaches patience. In the rhythm of life, signs appear gradually, like ripples spreading across still water. Reacting too quickly blinds you to their meaning. The Shaolin path reminds us that clarity emerges not from force, but from careful, compassionate witnessing. By observing without judgment, without trying to control what is seen, you begin to perceive the intricate dialogue between the outer world and your inner self. Every moment holds a lesson, if only the mind is quiet enough to see. Through patient observation, God's guidance becomes visible, not as a sudden revelation, but as a steady stream of truth, flowing through both the world around you and the depths within. The path of clarity begins not in action, but in intention. Every choice carries a weight beyond its surface, and every step echoes in ways the mind cannot immediately measure. Shaolin masters teach that the mind must be aligned with the heart before the body moves. For action without true purpose is like a river flowing into the desert. Energy is spent, but nothing grows. Sit with your intentions and examine them carefully. Ask what drives your choices. Is it fear, desire, or the need for approval? Or is it a quiet call to serve, to fulfill a purpose that extends beyond the self? The answers may not come at once. They reveal themselves slowly, like the first light of dawn brushing against mist. When intention is pure, action flows effortlessly. It carries a sense of inevitability, as if the universe itself supports the step. Discipline is the bridge between desire and fulfillment. Shaolin teachings remind us that mastery is not about control over others, but mastery over oneself. Each action, no matter how small, becomes an expression of inner alignment. A hand moved with mindfulness, a word spoken with care, a decision made with integrity. These are not ordinary acts. They are manifestations of a mind attuned to truth and a heart devoted to purpose. Service, not self-interest, becomes the measure of right action. Decisions rooted in ego may bring temporary gain, but guidance rooted in higher purpose brings lasting clarity. By reflecting on whether a choice benefits only the self or contributes to something greater, the mind begins to discern the subtle currents of direction. In this alignment, life moves with a quiet power. Actions are no longer fragments of chance. They are deliberate expressions of intention. Each step resonates with meaning. Each choice becomes a thread in the tapestry of purpose. The discipline of aligning intent with action transforms ordinary life into a path of conscious mastery, where every movement reflects the inner clarity that guides the soul. The body holds a language older than thought, a wisdom encoded in breath, heartbeat, and muscle memory. Before the mind labels or judges, the body senses truth. Shaolin masters understood this long ago. They trained not only strength, but awareness of every subtle signal within. The tension in a shoulder, the quickening of the pulse, the warmth that rises when aligned with purpose. These are not random feelings. They are messages, quietly guiding the mind toward clarity. Notice the small signals that arise when decisions present themselves. A hesitation in the chest, a heaviness in the stomach, a lightness that spreads through the limbs. These sensations carry meaning. They speak to the alignment or misalignment of a choice with your inner truth. Ancient wisdom teaches that the body rarely lies. It reacts to the subtle currents of energy that the mind may overlook. Practicing mindfulness with the body requires discipline. Sit quietly and scan from head to toe. Sense the rhythm of breathing, the tension that hides in muscles, the energy that ebbs and flows through your form. When faced with a decision, return to this inner awareness. Notice which choice sparks resistance and which evokes a quiet resonance of ease and certainty. The body becomes a compass, pointing toward paths aligned with higher purpose. It whispers when something is right, hesitates when something is not. The Shaolin approach integrates movement and stillness, training the body to respond with awareness rather than reflex. Over time, this develops a subtle mastery, a harmony where thought and feeling, body and spirit, move as one. Listening to the body is not a shortcut, but a disciplined practice of inner attunement. Through careful attention, each physical sensation becomes a guidepost, a reflection of deeper truth. The wisdom of the body illuminates the path, revealing God's guidance in ways the mind alone cannot perceive. Patience is often mistaken for passivity, but in truth, it is one of the most active forms of strength. Shaolin masters spent years honing patience, not as a virtue to be spoken of, but as a skill to be lived. In stillness and disciplined waiting, they discovered that the mind grows sharp, the heart steady, and the path forward becomes clear. Impulses fade, and the noise of desire no longer clouds perception. Life's guidance rarely arrives as a sudden revelation. More often, it unfolds like the slow rise of dawn, subtle shifts in light revealing the contours of the landscape. Impatience pushes one toward premature choices, scattering energy and masking the quiet signs that are already present. By learning to wait, one cultivates the ability to observe without interference, to notice patterns that only emerge over time, and to sense the alignment between intention and opportunity. Patience also nurtures inner mastery. Each moment of waiting is an opportunity to examine reactions, to notice when fear or frustration arises, and to redirect energy toward presence rather than distraction. The Shaolin path emphasizes that mastery is not about speed or force, but about harmony with natural timing. To act too soon is to invite error. To act without clarity is to risk losing the guidance that has quietly been offered. Through disciplined patience, understanding deepens. Life's answers often arrive not as dramatic signs, but as subtle confirmations, a feeling of ease, a repeated opportunity, a quiet shift in awareness. These are the moments that reveal truth to those willing to wait. Patience transforms the waiting period itself into practice, into training of mind and spirit. In this way, waiting becomes a tool, a form of strength that sharpens discernment and ensures that when action is taken, it is guided, deliberate, and aligned with a purpose far greater than haste could achieve. The most profound guidance often hides in plain sight, disguised as the ordinary. Shaolin wisdom teaches that the universe communicates softly in patterns, whispers, and gentle nudges rather than in grand displays. To recognize these subtle signs, the mind must be quiet, disciplined, and patient, trained to notice what others overlook. Pay attention to repetition, a phrase that appears again and again, a thought that returns unbidden, a situation that echoes itself. These are not accidents. They are messages, small signals designed to catch attention without forcing it. Ancient masters believed that the repetition of subtle phenomena is the way the unseen world guides the conscious one. When the mind is present and the heart receptive, meaning unfolds naturally from these gentle patterns. Intuition is another form of quiet guidance. It arises not from logic, but from alignment between mind, body, and spirit. Like a finely tuned instrument, the body senses energy shifts, and the mind interprets them as a quiet knowing. These instincts are often dismissed as coincidence, yet they are the language of awareness, the fingerprints of insight placed by forces beyond the immediate self. Sudden insights, like flashes of clarity, often follow periods of stillness and attentive observation. They are the culmination of preparation, patience, and inner discipline. Shaolin teachings remind us that such moments are fleeting. They must be noticed, reflected upon, and acted upon with care. Trust grows through practice. Learn to value persistent, quiet messages over loud, fleeting distractions. In a world that constantly demands attention through noise and urgency, the ability to recognize subtle signs becomes a rare form of mastery. The path to clarity is not always visible in the dramatic. It lies in the consistent, gentle, and persistent threads that weave guidance into the fabric of daily life. Clarity comes not only from receiving guidance, but from testing it. Shaolin wisdom teaches that the mind is a mirror, reflective, precise, and revealing, yet easily clouded by desire, fear, or habit. To discern truth, one must look deeply into thoughts and impulses, examining them without judgment. Only through such reflection can the difference between true guidance and illusion be seen. Begin by questioning what feels like direction. When a thought, intuition, or insight arises, pause. Observe it as if standing apart from it. Ask, does this bring peace or stir agitation? Does it resonate with integrity or tempt shortcuts and ego? These questions are not exercises in doubt, but instruments of clarity. Shaolin training emphasizes that discipline of mind is as important as discipline of body. The ability to observe one's own impulses and motivations is a cornerstone of inner mastery. True understanding often requires humility. One may feel certain in the moment, yet deeper reflection can reveal misalignment. Like water settling in a still pond, truth becomes visible only when the turbulence of assumption fades. The practice of testing guidance involves patience and honesty, a willingness to confront subtle self-deception and to honor what feels authentically right. Reflection is not passive, it is an active dialogue between intuition and reason, heart and mind. When an idea aligns with truth, peace, and integrity, it carries a sense of quiet certainty. When it does not, hesitation and discomfort serve as teachers, signaling the need for further observation or adjustment. Through disciplined self-inquiry, guidance is transformed from vague possibility into actionable clarity. The Shaolin approach reminds us that mastery is cultivated not only by following signs, but by constantly testing and confirming them, ensuring that each step forward is grounded in alignment with the highest understanding of self and purpose. Fear and ego are the quiet thieves of clarity. They whisper doubts, exaggerate risks, and twist subtle guidance into confusion. Shaolin teachings have long emphasized that the mind clouded by fear cannot perceive truth, and the heart driven by ego cannot discern purpose. Personal mastery begins with recognizing these forces, understanding how they shape perception, and learning to release them. Fear often arises from attachment. Attachment to outcomes, to identity, to comfort. It urges the mind to rush, to resist, to control. Ego insists that one's own will is the measure of right and wrong, that recognition and success define value. Both distort the signals that are already present. The path to insight requires noticing these patterns, observing them without judgment, and gradually allowing them to soften. Humility becomes the doorway. By surrendering the need for control, the mind becomes fluid, receptive, and quiet enough to hear subtle truths. Shaolin masters describe this as yielding, not weakness, a strength cultivated through years of disciplined practice. The heart aligned with humility senses the flow of life, recognizes synchronicity, and responds to guidance without forcing it. Letting go does not mean inaction. It is an active, conscious choice to trust that guidance exists beyond personal desire. It is a willingness to allow intuition, pattern, and subtle insight to direct the next step. The mind free from attachment sees the landscape clearly. The body moves with confidence, the heart responds with courage, and the spirit senses resonance with purpose. Releasing fear and ego transforms uncertainty into awareness. Each decision becomes an act of presence rather than reaction, an expression of discipline rather than compulsion. Through this practice, the quiet messages that were once distorted now emerge with clarity, offering direction that is aligned, steady, and profoundly grounded in truth. The mind often carries more than it can hold, and thoughts drift like clouds across a vast sky. Shaolin masters have long practiced reflection as a way to bring order to this inner landscape. Writing becomes a mirror, a tool to capture fleeting insights, feelings, and signs before they dissolve. Journaling transforms scattered awareness into clarity, revealing connections that might otherwise remain hidden. Each entry, whether a fleeting thought, a subtle feeling, or an observation from daily life, becomes a thread in a larger tapestry. Patterns emerge slowly, almost imperceptibly, until the lessons woven through experience become clear. Shaolin monks understand that mastery is not instantaneous. It is cultivated through patient observation, disciplined recording, and careful reflection. The act of writing itself trains the mind to slow down, to notice nuances, and to honor the signals that might be missed in haste. Reflection deepens understanding. Reading back over notes allows one to witness recurring themes, moments when intuition spoke, subtle signs repeated, or guidance aligned with inner peace. These repetitions are not coincidences. They are the language of awareness, the quiet direction of life made visible. Over time, this practice builds a kind of inner map, a guide for navigating choices with precision and calm. Journaling is more than documentation. It is a dialogue between mind and spirit. It is a practice of discipline, teaching patience, observation, and humility. Each word written anchors awareness, each reflection cultivates discernment, and each insight strengthens the capacity to act with intention rather than reaction. Through consistent journaling and reflection, the guidance that once felt fragmented begins to form a coherent path. The subtle signs and inner nudges that once seemed uncertain now take shape, pointing steadily toward clarity, purpose, and the unfolding of a life guided by wisdom, presence, and thoughtful awareness. Awareness without action remains potential, a seed that never grows. Listening is only the beginning. True mastery requires movement guided by insight. Shaolin teachings emphasize that action and reflection are inseparable. The body must follow the mind, and the mind must be aligned with the heart. When guidance is perceived, the next step is deliberate, conscious, and rooted in discipline. Inspired action is not impulsive. It begins with intuition, a quiet knowing that points the way. Yet intuition alone is not enough. The Shaolin path teaches patience, focus, and repetition, qualities that turn insight into meaningful movement. Each step taken with awareness becomes a test and a confirmation of understanding. Even small actions carry significance. A single deliberate choice can illuminate patterns, clarify intentions, and reveal whether the perceived guidance aligns with truth and purpose. Movement also refines awareness. Acting with presence allows feedback to emerge naturally. When steps are taken in alignment with inner clarity, the path becomes smoother. When misalignment occurs, the consequences are gentle teachers, guiding reflection and adjustment. This cycle of listening, acting, observing, and refining is a dialogue, a continuous conversation between guidance and choice, between intuition and reality. Discipline transforms ordinary action into mastery. Every motion, every decision becomes an extension of inner alignment. Shaolin philosophy reminds us that mastery is not measured by achievement alone, but by the harmony between intention and execution. By acting with care, even in the smallest matters, one cultivates confidence, deepens discernment, and strengthens the ability to trust subtle guidance. Taking inspired action turns insight into lived experience. It bridges the gap between knowing and being, between potential and reality. The journey becomes a practice of conscious steps, each one confirming, refining, and affirming the subtle guidance that flows through observation, patience, and inner mastery. True clarity is born not in moments of urgency, but in the quiet consistency of daily practice. Shaolin masters understood that awareness cannot be summoned only when needed. It must be cultivated continuously, woven into the rhythm of everyday life. Mindfulness is not an occasional tool. It is the foundation upon which insight, discipline, and discernment are built. Begin by observing each moment with intention. Notice the breath, the posture, the movements of the body, and the flow of thoughts. These small acts of awareness create a fertile ground where guidance can be heard clearly. When mindfulness becomes habitual, life itself becomes a teacher. Repetition, silence, and attention reveal patterns that were once hidden, making the subtle currents of intuition and divine guidance more visible. Daily practice also strengthens inner mastery. Each conscious pause, each deliberate breath trains the mind to remain present rather than scattered. Shaolin philosophy teaches that mastery emerges from discipline over small actions, repeated consistently over time. The mind becomes steady, the heart attuned, and the body responsive. In this state, even ordinary choices are informed by insight, and the quiet guidance that previously went unnoticed begins to emerge naturally. Presence in daily life turns ordinary routines into opportunities for reflection and discernment. The more one cultivates mindfulness, the less the mind is swayed by fear, ego, or distraction. Decisions arise with clarity, actions flow with purpose, and the voice of intuition is no longer drowned out by noise. By integrating mindfulness into each day, listening becomes second nature. Guidance is no longer a rare occurrence, but a continuous dialogue. The practice transforms life into a path of conscious awareness, where every thought, sensation, and moment becomes an opportunity to align with truth, purpose, and the subtle guidance that moves quietly through the world and within. Knowing what God wants is not revealed in haste or noise, but in stillness, patience, and careful attention. When the mind is calm, the heart open, and the body aware, subtle guidance begins to appear, often in ways that are gentle and quiet. Through mindfulness, Shaolin discipline, and the practice of personal mastery, you can learn to recognize these signs, reflect with clarity, and take deliberate steps that align with purpose. Life becomes a dialogue between your awareness and the guidance around you. Each observation, each pause, each thoughtful action strengthens your connection to this inner wisdom. Fear and ego may still arise, but with practice, they lose their power, leaving space for clarity, peace, and confident direction. Carry this understanding into your daily life. Begin with small moments of stillness. Listen to the quiet messages that emerge, and act with intention. Over time, what once felt uncertain will become clear, and your path will unfold naturally, guided by the subtle, consistent voice of truth. May each step you take be grounded in awareness, each choice rooted in integrity, and each moment approached with calm presence. If you found value in this guidance, support our journey by liking this video and subscribing to Shaolin Soulfire. Let us walk this path together, cultivating stillness, insight, and mastery in every day.